Am I still on? Here we go. It's a little bit of a pop-up. My guest is Dave Turner, doing a lot of mission work around the world, bringing clean water to third world countries. We're going to talk about Josh's journey. Buckle up and welcome aboard.
Hey, Jim, thanks so much for having me on.
Doesn't matter how you coach the guests, they just want to jump in on the freaking intro.
So it's process anxiety.
And here's your cue. Dave, how are you today, my brother? You look half decently normal. I mean, how are you feeling? Always complimentary.
Is that my cue now, or is that going to be
that's your cue? I mean, your mic's live, thanks to you for like trampling all over my intro. It's all good. It's all good. I'm grateful to have you.
For humanness and error.
I'm grateful to have you.
It adds to the blooper reels.
Yeah, definitely. So, brother, we've done this before, but just for people that haven't seen you, and I'm not broadcasting on the Dominican channels today, but we're live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and multiple channels. So for those who haven't spoken or seen or listened or watched the interviews before, take as long as you need to tell everyone about yourself and how you got to where we are now.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you hosting here in the Dominican heat, and I'm here in my back deck. Really, this whole story begins with my son's tragedy of a 2-month coma, leading to him being paralyzed the last 16 beyond that. Shocked me yesterday. Thank God he moved his second arm. I just felt a twitch in his forearm. And I said, Josh, try moving your arm. He moved his arm a good inch and a half. So this is encouraging that nerve recovery is going on. But in this whole process, back to a year ago, March, he is recovering, and that's the neat thing. But it changes. The effect of tragedy on people can go lots of different ways. And I was taken out for a while, railing against the broken political system and wasting hours on what'd you call it, fake book and Instagram. I don't know what we can slag that with. And I realized, I'm so what now what, let's get on with the priorities of life. And a friend who quarterbacks in the CFL challenged me. He was chasing me on a tax consult where he should resign. What's the better keep dollars in my pocket scenario? But he also said, hey, Dave, we've done gifting to gain gift in kind program of donation to reduce tax for him. And he says, I've got a number of guys who want to be involved. And I thought, well, I got to fund Joshua's recovery costs, contrary to popular American myths that they pay for everything and anything in the Canadian medicine system. I'm actually paying for nutrients to support Josh's nerve recovery, despite the resistance of the broken hospital system. That's another whole story coming out in my book, written with my wife, that will be pre-released in the next month, called Advocate: Helping Your Loved Ones in times of crisis and stress. And if people are calling into the show, feel free to weigh in on their own story at my Gifting to Gain, Dave at gifting to the letter TO gain.com. So bring that forward with my client challenging me around last January. I resurrected myself out of retirement to deliver goods bought by an individual in my company, Gifting to Gain. We shipped to Malawi, which is in I had never realized it, huge cholera epidemic. And the goods themselves are fascinating in that, like Post-it notes, they came out of an error with glue. In this case, a major company had developed a product to clean industrial and home washing machines of all the goop that gets in and around there. And they realized, like the Post-it notes fluke, gee, if we add chlorine to this, this can clean the most putrid water from garbage ditches in Haiti and in various favelas and places around the world, right down to the swamps with guinea worm and dysentery in them, that you see ladies walking 5 miles to get the best water source they can get. Well, the byproduct of cleaning the water is it chlorinates it in 30 minutes. They pour it through a t-shirt, drinkable chlorinated water with all the impediments out of it. So this is being used by churches to draw crowds where people come from the villages that don't have wells to get clean water. It's used by all of the big charities like World Vision and Samaritan's Purse and Compassion that do relief work when, cows are floating down a river and people got to drink out of it. There's other stuff with it. And this is used in those situations. So that's a little bit of a commercial on what Gifting to Gain is about. But the means for people is that they can acquire the goods personally, have a list of charities that desire the goods to save their budgetary line items, and people individually make a free will donation to those charities. Charities save money. People donating the discounted goods save tax, and lives are changed around the world.
Cool, man. Tell us a little bit more about Josh's journey and how that's influenced you to get back in business. Because, you've said to me many times you were retired and now you're unretired. So how's it affected your life, especially your business life?
God seems to like to keep us out there by faith. I was retired, quite not having a battle to fight, and this gave me back a battle to fight for a bigger picture. It was a hilarious story how we got funded from goods we had donated years ago that had not been fulfilled, and the company that made the clean water solutions, they go and return to me the money we bought for goods because they wanted them fulfilled through South Africa instead of through their head office. Well, that led to a very coincidental introduction back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and a contract with the head office of that company that is like a charity, but low for profit. They are all about getting clean water around the world. And so that got the model going. It led to us getting a 501(c) charity out of Texas that we use to receipt in the United States. In the States, people reduce tax about 40%, and no one's ever used a personal prearranged donation program for professionals, business people, and charities to raise money. That's what this is expanded into. In Canada, because we get top tax bracket tax credits when people donate to a charity, the charity receipts at the retail or fair market value for the goods, not what someone's paid for them. And that's a tax saving of up to 60%. America's earning in Canada get a double deduction because they're also taxed on their worldwide income. So there it adds up to a return of close to 150%, depending on someone's income level.
The goods and services donations is really handy because you can bill out at your full rate, your market value, including if you're, an advisor or a consultant, you can invoice and get a huge tax bonus there. I mean, my experience through that was always through political donations because you get 75% of the first 400 back. So if somebody gives you an invoice for $400 of services they've rendered, and there's really no hard cost to their labor other than their time, they're getting $300 back, and this is at the provincial level, whether they make income or not, they're still getting the $300 back.
Yeah, it works in the political realm. Unfortunately, you can't donate a service and be receipted for it in the NGO charitable realm. But as one very generous pro athlete does, he would speak at an event, draw the crowd, do what the benefit to the charity would be, and then he would give them back the check that they write for him and get 53% in tax credits back. So it kind of works the same. But yeah, the political donation in Canada is a gold mine.
Yeah, and you can do it. You can do it exactly that way at the federal level too. It's called check swap. So you cut a check and then you make a donation for the equal value, and your donation is treated as a political donation. So, anyways,
works for the son of Fidel and We Charity. Well, everything works for that. Oh, well, sorry, we're off the political thing, but.
Yeah, I try and stay non-political these days. I haven't done a Jim Fannin show on politics for over a year. I think, my birthday's Friday, so I think my last birthday I did a show, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't working for my Dominican life. I'm out.
The annual vent. Let's treat myself to a release of stress.
Yeah. Anyways, what else you got going on? You're looking for some sound bites, so let's generate them. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, sure. Now, one of the things again that spun out of this quarterback's vision, and he talked to the head of the Players Association in the Canadian Football League, was to take athletes to Africa. Now, sadly, this guy suffered an in-game injury that he'll still be rehabbing, in that he won't be able to attend himself in February when we're going to Kenya. But it's expanded off of my network and friends' networks in and around the athletic ministry realm to one head of the former president of the NBA Players Association, all-time Hall of Fame top 100 player, who was one of the first participants in the NBA program, Basketball Without Borders. And he'd been impacted by Africa, changed his life. And he said to me, Dave, whatever I can do to help, because obviously NBA players aren't coming in February. They're in the middle of their season, even if they do get to have time off or usage. Sorry, that's a political comment on the NBA and guys taking games off. So yeah, that's an exciting piece. Again, come from someone else's initial vision that inspired me. Let's not just get government funding, sponsorship, and tax saving for athletes. Let's go to Africa and change some lives, see some projects. I've been international in Latin America and for an extended period in Brazil in the north. And it was certainly impactful in my life. My prayers, the same, will be with businessmen and athletes that are going to Kenya in February. I spoke this morning with a rainmaker, one of the world leaders. He was catching the vision on how gifting to gain can self-fund. You know, it can be used just to save tax, but if someone desires to go on a athletes for Africa visit, they have found money to do that with. The other piece is when someone goes through a charitable organization that pays the flights and does the hotel accommodations, et cetera, the donation is tax deductible to that organization for the charitable purpose of the visit, going on the safari, going to museums, taking a half day off for, teaching. That's another story on the write-offs, but kind of a multiplied donation. I spoke with a wonderful guy this week who's been referring me out to other people. He was in remember the Super Bowl shuffle with the 86, 85 Bears. Mm-hmm. And he was on the keyboards. Tyrone Laws is his name. He is promoting this out to guys. He'd gone to Israel with a number of NFL players, and the impact was huge on them. We're hoping to get out with worldwide soccer. I don't know how their season works, but it'd be wonderful. I'd love someone from South Africa or Zimbabwe rugby to come in the athletic stream, because athletes follow other athletes who maybe they were their favorites, like guys who impacted me when I played in university. And then I luckily got to be mentored and have input in their life to me. So that's the exciting part and the guts of what athletes for Africa are going to be about. We may do a trip in Latin America coming up. We'll see it. Work in progress in 2024 to see clean water projects, see people, live with the people, and let a culture impact us. I didn't realize till recently Africa, if they all unified, they'd be larger than the third largest economy in the world.
Wow.
But they've been colonialized and tribalized and, put upon, and haven't got their political unification. And the Chinese would like to buy them out, but that's another story. We're not going political.
The Chinese is going heavy in Africa. Tell me about your recruiting process. What talents are you looking for? I know you've been on the networking circuit quite a lot lately, doing podcasts and looking for talent and partners in your vision here. Tell us, who are you looking for? What type of talents are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a willing, adventurous heart. One player in a league donated $50,000 of retail value of goods to go to a water project. And young guys will do adventures. I have not had, apart from people with conflicts, an athlete not say, yeah, I'd love to go. Now, athletes can be like nailing Jello to the wall when it comes to commitment and putting some skin in the game, like a down payment. But guys excitedly want to join in. Individual sponsors who'd like to come can make their trip fully tax deductible because it's a charitable gift, and we'll throw in the trip for them. We have had a cool story. Excuse me, Jim. You don't make me cry. Well, not here. Some of your humor does. We had sorry, I've lost my train of thought. In my vintage 65 years here, take me back. Athletes, tying them down. Alumni tend to have more flexibility and vision. I'm challenging every guy I ask to challenge someone else. So just man-to-man multiplication. There was a great story came out of the athletes to Israel trip. I heard the testimony of one of the guys. He just lost, sadly, his wife 11 days post-marriage. Well, at least he got the honeymoon. No, that's dark humor. And he was praying for a guy of like heart. And doesn't he meet on the trip another retired NFL guy who had lost his wife? And they've become fast friends. Like, that's the type of things that can come out of a willing heart and an adventurous heart. Skill set, we'll coordinate the things. It's not labor intensive. You know, if a guy throws a ball around out of his experience, he'll just hurt depending how old he is. I'm recovering from a total knee replacement myself. And I set this in part for February for a goal going there. One of the guys coordinated in is a Kenyan, used to work for me in my tax reduction business when he came out of his master's program at the York University. And he now in Ghana, running a Shell Oil, and a great network to have on the ground as a Kenyan. And to all the Kenyans out there and Swahili speakers, Jambo Salam, which is like something, I don't know. It's like, hey, what's up? Not what's up.
Nice. And you're also branching out into the men's group field too. You've recruited me out of, you brought me into Nikki Ballou's group, which was interesting. It wasn't time for me to dive right into that. And out of that sprung something similar. And I'm getting great benefit out of that, in addition to my men's group that runs Thursday mornings. So tell us about that aspect of your life and how you're fishing for souls there.
We have a wonderful bi-weekly group that has expanded. We lost one guy this week. Some men just think that it's normal to live life as the lone wolf and get eaten. That was certainly my case till I was mentored by a man in the message of Dr. Larry Crabb, just like John Eldridge's message with the wildatheart.org and free app. Both were mentored by Dr. Crabb, but it's a conviction in my life that men need other men just to share in a manly way, if nothing else, to impact each other out of the years of life. I've sat in a men's group, I won't say where, and it was a regular thing. It's gone on for decades. I was challenged to join it by a lawyer who kind of facilitates the wisdom part of it. And I thought, and I'm sitting there and I go, there must be 500 to 750 years of wisdom sitting here. And these guys were being spoon-fed a reading from a book by a leader. And I go like, come on, man, let's up our game. Let's share our lives. Let's have the getting together be the focal point, but the spin out being men getting to know other men. Network, help them out, share vision, wisdom, and share I call bullshit on other guys.
Most important,
because we don't see ourselves well any more so, not just being out there being dicks with each other, but sharing, hey, this is what I see in you. Tell the people where they can see the stuff, We should call it Men Unfiltered or something.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how it works. I've been in men's group. I was a founding member of the men's group at Central Community Church and been going to that for probably almost 20 years now. Thursday mornings at 7:30. I should have had a link ready so I could put it in the comment section. But, I always saw myself as the new Christian, or, the one that's eating pablum that really didn't offer much in the way of leadership. And then I'm like, wait a second. It took a few guys in the group to say in real time, "Oh, you don't see yourself as a leader? Well, let me give you a few examples of how you've been a leader in this group." And I'm like, hey, okay. I'm not completely stubborn. I can be sold. And so that men's group that you've got on a biweekly basis, like we met this week, and we'll meet 2 weeks from now on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. So I've got one in the morning at 7:30 a.m. and then 7:30 p.m. with you guys. And almost in real time, and definitely afterwards, I don't watch my content back very often unless I have a reason to go edit it or look for something. But I've been coming out of these men's groups going, damn, that was awesome. I feel like I'm really contributing something, and I'm not good at patting myself on the back, but there's something about the acknowledgement that I'm getting from the guys in this group when they're saying, I'll pick up on what Jim said, and then they'll expand on it, and I even get more than my message. So it's been a really good experience for me, and I'm glad to have the guys, and glad to see the group growing, and such a diverse range of guys. Most guys have a business sense, but you got one guy that I'm going to interview most of them as well. We got a stand-up comedian that's got wow, what a life story to tell. And then Butler, who's deep into the publishing business or connected in that business, I think, helped another guy get a book off the ground, and mine's already written. It just needs to be produced. Written from the standpoint that the bones are there. And interestingly enough, after this group, God puts people in your path at the perfect time, right? And when you're not ready for them, you don't meet them. And sometimes you wonder, how have we not met? We have all these mutual friends, and we go out to all the same meetings and churches and stuff like that. And how have we not? And the bottom line is you weren't ready. And I went to list a house on the ocean about 2 months ago. It's like a 15,000 square foot 6-bedroom mansion for $2 million roughly. And the lady that owns the place is a professional writer. And she said, for 5,000 American, if you're not in a big hurry, I'll do it. I'll take what you've got written down. I'll do a two-hour interview on the commission coach for you. And in a few months, you'll have the content of a book. It'll need to be formatted, and you'll need to find somebody to, design you a cover. But other than that, you'll be good to go. And I'm like, wow. And so it's given me new life to slam another deal where, I'll have $5,000 extra dollars to toss her and then just wait on the book. But it's amazing how, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes. Yeah. And on that note, let's roll it back. It was, I'm sitting there interacting with our mutual friend. And you were the guy on his introduction who introduced me to that other, 8 early in the morning group as Central in St. Catharines. Not everyone lives in St. Catharines. I got to fill that in for you, Jim. Where I live since moving from the GTA and enjoying it. But that's a pitch for St. Catharines. What a great secret. It was you tying me in there, tied in by one of the guy you alluded to, the publisher in our group, Michael D. Butler. And he tied me in back into that other group that'll remain nameless. I won't give them a plug, but exciting, just, former, as God says, I don't know the reference, for my ways aren't your ways, declares the Lord. As far as the heavens are above the earth, are my ways different than you? And we think we get it figured out. Well, if I just do this and set a 5-year goal, and then, clear objectives with timelines, then I'll get this. Nah, God doesn't work like that. He works like man makes the plans of the heart, but God orders the steps. Like I would have never come to where I am making the worldwide impact that's going on with Gifting to Gain and Athletes for Africa without Josh's tragedy. It needed to change my heart first. And thank God it's so wonderful having guys like yourself, not to schmooze all over you, Jim, because I know you're going to blush and then, guffaw a bit.
It's not
but no, having guys in a tribe or a team is wonderful. And again, this is back to wildatheart.org and their worldwide impact. They're now doing a program where guys just host a fire and just invite random guys around. They've got rules on it, like, no pontificating, no preaching at other people, just sharing your heart and just giving guys an outlet for this. And it's growing around the world in their model. You can find it at the website I just talked about. But
talking about being ready for it as well. Greg Sykes told me to buy Wild at Heart many years ago.
Oh, really?
And I got through.
I just saw his sign. Well, here we're pitching for Sykes.
Sykes is a huge friend in my life, and I just wasn't ready for it. I got through the first few chapters, and I never picked it up again. And then when you reintroduced it to me, I started watching videos. I'm not a good reader. I tend to fall asleep. 3 or 4 pages in, if it's not riveting, the book as far as content goes. But he told me, get that. You got to get this. Changed my life. And I'm always looking for, what's changed other guys' lives and how can it influence my life for the better. And I just wasn't ready for it. But when you reintroduced it to me, I started watching videos. And man, the guy is on point. Just I love his delivery. I love his writing style and his speaking style, and I've gotten a lot from him. And there's no fires in Dominican Republic, so
hey, you're on.
I guess I'm.
And the sweet deal. Like I love the Wild at Heart ministry for a number of times. I've been to Colorado. They now facilitate weekend boot camps. It's not a retreat. You're not going away to, gaze at your navel. You're going to start doing war for your heart and other things. But on the fires movement, so I get a box delivered to me. Usually my wife is the only one who gets all the stuff at the front door. And they sent me 5 books. Becoming a King by Morgan Snyder, who's on the team who will, when John Eldridge passes away, he'll be probably the lead guy along with their board. And they sent me free copies of Wild at Heart to give to guys on the fire stuff. And then the next day or two, don't I get a gorgeous engraved Zippo lighter saying fires, to use for lighting the fire, I guess. It took me back. It was nice to see, reminded me of my dad's lighter rehab he used to do when I was a teenager. But it's a more multiplicative. Like we're not going to turn into a group of 40 guys. It's not the model. Wild at Heart, when they started, they said we could be on the weekend road show facilitating men's work. No, it's going to be 3 retreats where people got to access by lottery in Colorado. And graciously, I was able to get into both the basic retreat and otherwise. And it's the same message I sat under for 25 years with my mentor with Promise Keepers Canada. He was the Christian director, Steve Masterson, and I honor him at 77 as my spiritual dad, as a man who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself and walked with me through stupidity, carnality, immorality, the poser, and didn't realize I was presenting a false self instead of me. Thank you, Steve Masterson, and the Wild at Heart Ministry. And now we're hoping, who knows how it's going to go, to host a Thursday to Sunday noon Wild at Heart boot camp in the Niagara region. We definitely have a Buffalo one planned for the spring. We've got the location. But there's something about the environment you set, like you say, Jim, the book is impactful, but if it doesn't engage you or you're not a reader, but you get there and hear the teaching, you do some contemplative, private, quiet retreat time, you go to the nice meals and whatnot, but you stay in the message. Hey, how did that land on you? You go deep with guys. It's like our group last week, and one goofy thing started a topic, and guys all talked about, well, I'll make people watch it, but it was funny, as John Eldridge says, quoting the Celtic mysticism, that the Holy Spirit is a wild goose who shows up honking around different ways, and we've seen that in our group. Sometimes we just laugh a lot, not in a weird holy laughter way, but just off of a guy's situation, because we relate in life, which is what we want. The ancient saint said, don't ask what God's will is, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. And I'm out on that for Wild at Heart, unless you got some more comments.
No, I think it's interesting, especially from the standpoint that when you're ready, it seems that you get the job. And, my frustration is being, give me the job. I'm ready. I'm right here. And then
look at me. I look like Colonel Sanders. Hire me as your representative.
And then a quiet voice in my head says, you're not ready, dummy. That's why you don't have the job. You're not being trusted with the responsibility yet, because you haven't gone through the fire. You haven't been tested. Yes. You're not ready yet. So the ego says, God, I'm ready. Put the work on me.
On dependence with him. Not on depends, because I had to clarify that at my age.
Yeah, and I also will add that you can't watch our men's group because they're unlisted links. But if you're interested in the men's group, I can give you the unlisted links that you can watch, but they're not public, so don't go looking for that.
Oh, I thought we were public.
No.
Well, that's good, because we would have been discounted for political service in future based on the candor that we share.
And this is why this week I uploaded, I don't know if you noticed, but I uploaded the videos. I had to do it in 2 parts. And I uploaded it to an obscure YouTube channel that I just got back called You've Been Duped. And it's a picture of me with, lack of a better term, it looks like a balaclava. You can only see, because I got my toque down, and then you can only see my eyes. So because I didn't know if the flashing back and forth to the NFL that I was doing when guys were talking, getting really emotional, because I was so bitter that the Eagles were on and I'm in men's group here. I had to make my statement, even though the guys couldn't see it. They'll see it on the replay if they want. I didn't know if I'd get busted for that.
Didn't fool anyone.
And then sometimes you say the wrong thing. You talk about a certain drug that shall not be named that was effective against the virus that shall not be named, and your channel's gone. So I wanted to run it through. And so now when you go to look at the links, there's some on my Dominican channel, there's some on my YouTube channel over here on the original Jim Fannin show that I just got back a few months ago. And then there's some on the obscure channels, because out of, 10 channels that I've had terminated on YouTube, I've gotten 2 of them back, including my original one that I was making all the money on.
Nice.
It's not monetized, so I'll never make money on it again. But I only just wanted my videos back, so they're back. So,
let me turn the table on you. I am so impressed with the video I just saw on the 2-bedroom property you got listed. But hit on why Dominican over Florida, apart from losing your cookies, seeing some French Canadian guy with the banana hammock and the cigarette sticking in the side of his swimsuit.
Speedo, yeah.
Sorry for that visual picture.
That was unintentional payback for you sending me your address and all this garbage information that I wanted nothing to do with yesterday. And then I thought I was I was using WhatsApp on my computer, and it was you and my client, and he said, hey, send me that 2-bedroom. And blah, blah, blah. So I said, oh, by the way, I forgot to film the 2nd bedroom and 2nd bathroom, but the rest is, it's complete, other than I just forgot to walk through the 2nd bathroom. And here's the link. And then I went to look for my guy, and I'm like, oh, how come you didn't get that message? And I look back on you, and you had received them both. So I'm like, oops, sorry. So that is a good deal, 179.
Oh well.
Yeah,
I'm glad I got it. It was impressive.
From a
So
selfish
yeah,
point of view.
why Sosúa? Why where you are, and why the DR, as opposed, people like I've been to the 2/3 world. I've been to the DR twice. I've been to Costa Rica surfing with my boys when they were teenagers. I love Latino culture. But the average person, the closest they get to Latino culture is, I don't know, going to a crib fest or something, and or doing like I did, going to a Latino church with the wrong address, with like I'm doing dyslexia, and then I had a wonderful time because I can speak enough to make people laugh in Espanol skewed through my Portuguese. Anyway, Dominican, why?
Well, for me, it came out of survival, basically. I didn't want to be trapped in my own country, so the political climate was shifting, and if I didn't leave before the end of October 2 years ago, I would have been trapped there for as long as it took them to...
yeah, that's Dominican in you. We don't care about you, fan, and we want to buy a great house or rent one at a low price.
That speaks to my
no,
why.
I love you, but the people don't.
The why came out of a survival necessity. I just didn't want to be trapped, and I had a connection down here, and then I'd been here 30 years ago as well. It's like the first time off the continent for me, the first time in the tropics. I mean, unless you call Florida the tropics, I don't know. It's tropical weather, I guess. But I've been to Florida many, many times, and California and Vegas and stuff like that. And so when I came to Dominican Republic the first time, I fell in love with the people, number one, the food and the culture and the language and the music and all of it. And I forgotten about that once I got home. And when I told my little brother that I was headed to DR, hopefully for good, he's like, dude, do you not remember how much you love the DR? I go, what do you mean? He says, you bought the Spanish books and the tapes when you got home. You were going back to marry a Dominican girl, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I do remember that, So he says, no surprise you picked that place to go. And I had a connection here, and she rented me an apartment for $500 across the street from where I am now. She put a deposit down on it and held it for me, and I had to stay with her for a couple of days until it was ready, being cleaned up and whatnot. And then, so that part was kind of God-led. And, my brother's a world traveler. I've never seen myself as a guy that wanted to live on the beach or in the tropics or, hated winter or hated my country. I mean, I'm a 10-time political candidate. I ran a talk show. I was very connected to the music industry in Niagara, and I said goodbye to all of it. All my friends and family and opportunity, limited as it was, as far as being canceled and, being put on the front page of the Standard for 3 weeks in a row because of my dirty mouth and how I talk about politicians. And the last one just happened to be a girl, one that we were pretty tight with. And I used some unkind language, and it made headlines day after day after day for 30 days because nothing was going on. It was COVID, and all they had to talk about was Jimmy Fannon's filthy mouth. So,
you got woked on.
Yeah, they tried to cancel, and I don't apologize to the mob, but I'm still here, I'm still broadcasting, and I'm still me. So, and then Dominican on the North Shore, where I am in Sosúa, Cabarete is the surf town 10 minutes east. It's very white and transient, and I mean white from the European, North American standpoint. They're from all over the place. But they're all got beautiful bodies and great tans, and they're all in shape, and they're kite surfers. And, I haven't got up on a kite yet. I'm still trying to work some issues out on my back and scoliosis and, sciatica, and just, it's been a nightmare. But these people are walking around like you would be when you're pulling your clubs out of your trunk. Like they're going to do what they love to do, or they've just come from doing what they love to do. They're tan, they're fit, they're beautiful, and they got this. If they don't have a smirk on their face, a lot of them are just clearly grinning ear to ear all the time. But if they don't, they've got this aura about them that they're just in their zone. They're exactly where they're meant to be. They're happy, and I can't tell you how refreshing that is coming from small town Niagara. And the locals here, same thing. They've got, especially the men. I don't notice it as much with the women, but the men, whether they're on a motorcycle or whatever, you pass them by, many times they're grinning ear to ear, and you think they're almost laughing at you sometimes. You're like, what is this guy? They don't have street drugs down here. They don't have, like, SSRIs aren't popular here. There's no opiates on the island unless you bring them in prescription-wise. I mean, you can get them, but we just don't have, I was down at George's bar last night, and he was showing me TikTok videos of these. It's called... what's the new drug? Anyways, it makes you look like a zombie, like you're just slumped over, and people are like, there's a term for it.
I think it's called old age without weightlifting and exercise.
No, there's a new drug out there, and it's highly addictive, and it just makes you a complete zombie. And if you've seen tape of them driving through Philadelphia, you see them, they're just hunched over and collapsed, and they're mummified. They're just completely zombified. And what is the nickname for it?
Very addictive.
Yeah.
Not fentanyl.
No, it's Zonk, or what is it? Trank. That's it. Trank. Now, I'm not sure exactly what Trank is, but it must be of the tranquilizer variety, because it just makes you a complete... Anyway, I'm getting off topic here, but I say all that to say, you don't see that down here. There's
People
not
got la vida abundante in Portuguese, the abundant life.
Yeah.
In a simple life. Like, that's the thing that most people don't get. Oh, how can these people live? They don't have windows in their house, and the kids run around with no shoes. It's a different culture, and with that, the heart's freer.
They run around with no shoes because their feet are calloused and they can take it. Like, having no shoes here is a choice. Like, anyways, poverty exists. I get that, but most Dominicans, there's some Dominicans that do very well in this, especially in small town North Coast Sosúa. And then, but it's just a question of doing the most with less. Like, this is not. There's poor areas for sure, but it's not poverty from the standpoint of, like, no one's going hungry here that I can see. You know what I mean? Like, they just make the best of what they have. So small town Sosúa has been kind of like, I don't travel far from Sosúa. I like my little town, and I know all the locals here. My coconut guy that I got an appointment with as soon as we're done here to go down, I can buy 5 liters of fresh coconut water for $10. Like, he splits them while I'm there, and now he knows. I used to like the ripe coconuts, but it takes you an hour to eat one, and it's it's hard on your jaw. You're chewing for hours, right? But the young ones are just gelatinous. You scoop them out, and they're like an oyster, and you slurp them back. They're loaded with oils and juice and stuff like that. So as he's cutting up my coconuts, now he kind of cuts up the young ones, which have a higher water content, and then I get to eat 10 of them while I'm standing on the side of the road with them. But the guy that watches the motos when I go to my grocery store, Frankie, I call him Fran G. He can spot me from 100 meters away, and he's got this big smile on his face. It's just
brings your heart to life too, eh?
Yeah, everyone's like, I say hello to everyone.
A-way.
Hola, hola. I say, when I walk by everyone gets an hola, and there was a young girl that was in the complex. I was walking out one day, and I'm like, hola, I walk out, and she broke out giggling at me. Like, I don't know why she found it so funny that I was saying hi to her.
You had your shirt on backwards again.
Yeah.
When you do your pants on backwards, it's a real problem.
So, yeah, I mean, when you compare life here to North America, people really get that there's a lot of love here, man. I see guys standing on the...
people who would make a lifestyle change to be snowbirds there, how would you recommend they experience some of this differently than the resort visit?
Yeah, great question.
You told me about some of the price points for winter rentals, and it was like, sweet.
Yeah, $500 a month or less. And yeah, that's what I would say. Come down first on a vacation, take 2 weeks at minimum. But no, you can rent a great condo in a great complex close to everything, but not downtown where the chicas roam. Sosúa's got a reputation for sex tourism. prostitution's legal, and the girls work the street downtown. And
Sure.
you know, if you don't like being hounded by "Hey, baby," and them coming up to you, and you know, like they're
You
pretty.
kind of enjoy it, right? Like it makes you feel good.
No, I'm not that guy.
Not
but
in a weird solicitation way. At least it's not Thailand.
no, I'm not. I'm not that guy. I'd rather not deal with it. But they're aggressive, and they're in survival mode. And
Yeah.
I mean, aggressive from the standpoint like their hands are all over in your pockets, all like. I won't describe what happened to me the last time walking down to the beach, but you know, if you're not turned off by that kind of stuff, Sosúa is a great place to be. You know, and it's just crimes of opportunity. There's no
Yes.
big crimes down here. If you leave your car unlocked, you can expect it to get rummaged through. Now, where I live, there's cameras all over the place, and guys know what to hit. But when I bought my bike, everyone's like, "Oh, you better watch it, man. This is a nice bike. It'll get stolen immediately. You need to put that lock on it everywhere." I've left my helmet outside on my bike and forgotten it, and been mortified because I don't want to have to go through that Amazon purchase again. I like my helmet. And I've got a backup helmet, but it's not a full face like I've got now.
Yeah.
And I walked out the first time going, "Oh, I'm beat. It's gone." And I actually talked to the receptionist before I even went to my bike and said, "Hey, did anybody return my helmet?" She's like, "No." And I went, and it's right sitting exactly where I left it. Been there for 12 hours
There's
all night.
integrity.
Well, I know. No, I just think that
In places, it's humanity.
well, the guys know that
some won't.
there's cameras there, and
Yeah.
you know, if somebody wants to pick them up, they're going to get caught, right? And so
Yeah.
the cops down here are great.
But like you say, the irritation on the Amazon redo. Well, give me the top 3 reasons why you come to Sosúa
Freedom.
instead of freedom.
Freedom,
No,
number
not
one.
for you. For put yourself in the
No, this
the
is
the retiree like me, or someone who wants a vacation
Dude.
property and not Florida.
if you missed the 1970s of how laid back it was and how you could smoke in the restaurants and how everything was just chill and no one cared and the cops weren't all over you and you didn't need an e-test and you didn't, you know, if your carburetor gets dirty on your bike, you can pull into the shop and get it fixed for $36, not $360 or more. You know, like you
Yep.
can't even get someone to look at your bike for less than $150 in Canada. And these guys, you talk about inflation. Yeah, some of the food prices are higher, and they've been going up like they have been everywhere around the world. But mostly imported stuff. Like chicken is cheap as hell down here because it's produced here. Pork is cheap as well.
Oh, and it's so good. It falls off the bone
chicken
when
down
I had
here
it at
is-
the resort down there.
Wow.
Oh, it's different. It's not mass produced.
I don't think they do. I don't think they fill them
Like
with
the guy who
antibiotics
looks
and
like
stuff.
me,
Yeah.
like they get them to market in 3 weeks.
Well, sorry,
With,
I kind of blew the
with
mic
or
up there.
without the third eye.
I had to go for, I didn't have to go, but I've got an osteopath appointment on Tuesday. So I've got an MRI of my lower back, and they wanted a dynamic x-ray, which I couldn't get in Cabarete. So finally they told me, you got to go to Puerto Plata. Now, Puerto Plata is 45 minutes from where I am with a bridge detour. And I don't usually drive my bike that far. Like I'll go to Sabaneta, it's a half an hour, but I know the roads and I've been there 100 times. So it doesn't, going to the big city, which is Puerto Plata, it's not the big city like Santiago or Santo Domingo or Punta Cana or stuff like that. And for, the expats that want to go to the big towns and see the, PGA golf courses and buy a house and park your yacht in the backyard, you can do that. That's not Sosúa. Sosúa is a small town.
No.
It's got a lot of
Yeah.
culture, both Haitian and Dominican. And so anyway, I called, this is over WhatsApp, and I said, can you get me in today? She says, can you be here before 11 o'clock? Well, it's 9:30. Like, this is how fast they got me in for an x-ray. On my
Wow.
MRI, I had 2 MRIs done, $160 each. The MRI process took longer than it took for me to book the appointment. Like, I'm telling you,
Wow.
the same day you can get an MRI for $160. So it's not outrageous. And so you talk about inflation. Yes, some things are expensive here. Gas has been $5. It's 275 pesos per gallon. So that's roughly $5 American. It hasn't changed since I've been here. 2 years. It's jumped 20 pesos. That's it. So, you see the fluctuation on bread and dairy and wheat products and like staples in Canada. You don't see that here. Things are a little more expensive across the board, especially if they're imported, and a lot of stuff's imported. Like their butter here's garbage. You buy imported butter, and you don't get Renee's chunky blue cheese down here. You can't find it anywhere, and you can't even buy it on Amazon. So,
how can you survive?
But I was telling you the story about,
I know what you mean.
I walk a lot down here because if I don't walk, I can't walk. So as unmotivated and I'm in so much pain with the sciatic that it hurts to walk. But if I don't walk, I hurt more. But so I walk every day. I walked today 4 kilometers, took me about an hour, and had a couple stops. And you see guys standing on the side of the road, usually moto drivers, with their arms around each other's shoulder, bullshitting each other, busting each other's chops. Now, I can't understand most of it, but my Spanish is coming along a little bit with this big grin on their face. And often I'll talk to these guys and go, you guys are good friends or what? And they're like, no, we just met each other. Like the human connection and this I don't know how to else describe it. It's a more loving culture. I'm not saying it's perfect. Obviously, they've got their challenges, and
but they're in there for the people more. That's what I've seen when I've gone around the world.
I forgot when I lived in Canada.
The values have shifted. They think we live in heaven.
Yeah.
From being from North America, and think, if I just had the materialism, bull crap. I'll trade for their heart stuff in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I forgot living in Canada how much, how obvious it was that people still loved each other. You know what I mean? Because they look at their feet when they're walking by. Nobody says hello. The political climate's nuts. Before I left, I remember going down July 1st to Sunset Beach and going, wow, the color temperature of this beach is a lot browner than Niagara normally is because all the people were coming in from Toronto and Mississauga.
Yeah, ethnics appreciate these features that they didn't have in their home countries.
Yeah, and they go out of Toronto.
That's why they fill the parks.
And
that's not being racist. It's just an observation.
And then for August, Mayor Senzik, in his political wisdom of St. Catharines Council, decided that they were going to make the beach Niagara residents only. And in 2 days, it went from a brown beach to a completely white beach. And I remember telling the guy, he was what's the guy with the Sikh, obviously from Toronto. The security company had a lot of Toronto employees, and they were mostly brown or black or minorities. And on the way out, I say to the guy, congratulations, I know it's not your call, but this is the whitest beach in North America now because it's a Niagara residents only. You actually had to show ID to get on the beach to prove that you're from Niagara. So
and pay your parking pass.
Well, and your parking pass. So, there's none of that kind of stuff down here.
It's a gorgeous beach, too. Like and they've redone it. They moved the volleyball courts.
It's so difficult.
I think they put a washroom in.
It's so difficult to get used to walking out of the bar with your drink because
it's just
it
is what it is. But there's no public drunkenness. Like obviously there's some homeless guys and that's how they medicate themselves. But it's just a cleaner lifestyle.
You don't see it much. You don't see locals. There's no tent cities down here.
And you said you don't get hurricanes in Sosúa. I've been there with my boys.
Yeah. No, because the mountain tears them up. It's the highest peak in the Caribbean, and it doesn't matter what direction that hurricane comes in, the mountain either pushes it away or tears it up. And we're very fortunate. They haven't had anything in Sosúa or on the North Coast for over 40 years as far as major hurricanes go. We do get earthquakes. I experienced my first earthquake a few months ago. I just happened to get I don't usually throw on, it must have been December because it was cool out, because I don't usually throw my house coat on when I go to the bathroom because it's right off my bedroom. And I did for some reason. And as I was sitting on the toilet, the whole room went like this, like somebody bumped my rear end in the car. And I'm like, what's that? And I ran outside and you could hear the dogs barking like crazy. They say, when that stuff happens, the dogs go crazy. Well, they were. And the odd siren in the distance and whatever, and I was lit up, man. It's 4:30 in the morning, and the adrenaline's coursing through me.
Hello.
I'm like, am I going to have to run down to the pool to avoid this building collapsing on me or what? Like, it was wild. So there's a few different things to get used to here. You don't have 9:30 sunsets and July 1st or 9 o'clock sunsets. It's kind of like 6 to 7-ish. 6:30 to 7:30 ish. It doesn't change that much because they're on the equator, right? And that's new to me. You know, I know that in Calgary the sun goes down later because you're further up from the equator, but I didn't get how it worked. But yeah, you're although the days are much longer for almost all year, the sun goes down. Oh, I guess they're not much longer, especially in the longest days of the year in St. Catharines. But yeah, I mean, freedom, the love of your fellow humans, and I guess it goes along with it. But like, there's just no regulation. Dude, when I get pulled over in Canada, my heart would be in my throat. I don't know why. I always had good relationships with cops. I knew a lot of cops, went to school with them. Some of them, you know, gave me tickets for drinking when I was a kid. I remember saying to Des Carter, Des, how are you? Can you cut me a break? He's like, no, I'm the rookie. I can't do that. I'm like, shut up, just take the ticket. It's $37.75 or something for drinking on Michigan Beach back before it was a marina, you know. But when I get pulled over in Canada, my heart races. And I don't know why, but down here, there's none of that. The cops are cool. They don't usually speak English. They're usually hungry. Yeah. They get paid like shit, so I end up tipping them on the way out of there if they make my life a little easy. And, you know, I tip everybody down here, even the guy that watches my moto when I go in. Not every time at the grocery store, but, and, you know, not when I pay my phone bill, not at the bank. Although I did get the girl, it was Carib Express where I'm picking up tenants' rent for a bunch of Airbnbs that I'm managing down here. And I said, is it appropriate for me to tip you? And she said, what? I said, appropriado, what's the name for it? Propina.
Impuesto is tax.
Propina is a tip.
Propina, says, that's right.
Appropriata propina? And she says, see. So, you know, I give her a little something, and then Juan on the way out the door get the change because I give him 100 pesos last time. So, you know, it just...
Goodwill.
It gives you an opportunity to be a good human being because there's so much need down here, right? And money solves everything. And the guys that always got their hands out and are begging on the street very seldom get anything from me. But anyone that helps me do anything, or, you know, any cop that ever pulls me over, or, you know, I usually buy them lunch for 300 pesos. I can buy them lunch, you know, and they always rub their belly going.
Yeah, there's something powerful about that principle
hambre.
Anywhere.
Soy hambre.
You know, just the giving, and then God repays. Maybe you need to do that, Jimmy. Start praying, Lord, return to me the giving I've given out, and watch him go. Yeah. He likes to play. There's a great book. I think I'm gonna rewrite it because I think it's gone out of print, and it's easy to knock it off because I've had it built into my life. I won't say the title just in case they come back and sue me. God bless America. But it's all about stewardship. What you're doing, you're paying it forward, you give it, and then seeing one of the principles is God always repays when you give. You don't give to get, and He controls the timing and the amount of the repayment. It's time for some timing for you, Jim.
Jennifer Newstetter on Facebook says, hey guys, glad to hear this.
Yeah, I know Jennifer. Come on.
Freedom
more small
from
world.
China, Dave. Yeah, I used to see Jennifer quite a lot when I went to Central, but I haven't been there in a couple of years.
Bless her heart. You know what? I got to tell you a story to honor her. She met my autistic Asperger's daughter, who has social anxiety in part of that disease. And she's a big personality, realtor, just, you know, Roy LePage, last time I checked, in St. Catharines. But, and wonderful husband named Bill. They came and got my daughter and took her to a church and just loved on her, you know, because autistic people need that. They're not like us. They need that initiation, emotional hesitation to promote themselves and make contact. And bless Jennifer's heart.
Well, thanks for the context. I'm just going to put my glasses on here so I can see. Victor Spade 89 on Twitch says, tax reduction, give to charity, both question marks. So maybe I have to roll that back, Victor, so you can see the beginning of the show where we talked about exactly what we're doing as far as giving to charity.
Victor, if you're still on, hit me, Dave, at giftingtogain.com or go to Gifting to Gain, and you can book an appointment with me because I need to know where you're at, if you're Canadian, if you're American. It's fascinating, the differences. Want to hear a scary stat? Canadians who, after they give $200, get the top tax credit, 53% in Ontario, to go against the tax when they give. So you donate $1, you get 53 cents back. Canadians give 4% of Canadians give over $1,000 a year. Americans get a deduction. So if a guy's only making $50,000, he might be paying 25% marginal rate, but they get to deduct it. Americans give 20% of their Americans give to charities $1,000 or more a year. And we got the better deal.
Right.
Anyway, Victor, it'd be wonderful to talk to you. I got to step away. We have a mutual friend that's pursuing me on the phone out of Georgia, who, while he's watching his famous Georgia Bulldogs.
Bulldogs are on right now. They just started at 3:30.
There you go. I, however, am off the NFL and am a hardcore CFL fan relative to clients and friends.
All right, you got any sound bites you want to make on the way out?
Become my friends because I get them big whopping tax returns.
You got any sound bites you need to get before you get out of here? Or you got enough?
Athletes in Africa, come, but not alone.
Okay. All right, brother.
Come to Africa, be impacted. They don't care about North American sports.
Amen. All right, Dave. Thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge and your good looks. I would say humor, but I haven't found anything.
Well, let me get my glasses on and do my brand. The Colonel. Got to get the black tie and get a free bucket soon.
There you go. All right, brother. Talk soon. Love you.
Good.
Peace
Thanks
out.
for the time, man.
Right.
Love you.
Ciao. Well, that's how you do that. Dave Turner. The links are in the show description if you want to book him for an interview or to talk or podcast or anything like that. He's pretty accessible and more than happy to talk about his experience and what he needs and what benefits you can derive by cooperating with him and providing clean water to some third world countries, developing nations, poverty-stricken cultures. Anyways, either way, notes in the show description are below on most platforms. Peace, love, hug your neighbor, and I am out.